event will also be live streamed. So now, without further ado, I turn it to Drupla Sonam. Drupla, please turn the wheel of demo.
Gandai Simbe Zerai Mare Mendoi Donga Gezerwe Dronso Gun Lai Bunchen Transe Yen Lai Chuncho Yang Desan Drodara Che Droi Nye Moi Nye Long Denje Chang Chon Chon Se Chi Mare Men Sen Dong Ai Nyong Gui Jen Yen Chen Ze Ra Che Na Dene da joy sa joy tras yende lenzo ya se do chun jan chun dai chun yen jan de da le men se jam be yang la de marabazana de marabazana de marabazana marabazana de Zende ngege nero enso nge ndole ndemo membai rasane gada endenje jonlo ndomba yelo nje bobe nawa enzando enso kanze davare ndeba enjonze nje warando naya Gombo jam yan jinye ne ge me bar yan tong wai shu. Wen zai de zen ga rai ji ri zen be ma jen ba ni shu. So so no nya den den jan za so gan dre la ma nam lai so wai de. 我见上界念边同界三天见中道，样子过了有，中道将军的见，南德上业念的等着跟将军两边，下来做完的将白进来北面南边着，亚些蓝界样些就是吧。 Kaba den den ben mai dong a len jang yang jen ze wan ba zo wan de kan de long jen ba ro nam ba zhu zen jen nam nge shen de lam so je re me den ze yuen den yang zun de lun de ta sha so wan de 我们正界人间保障难的人上界本界我，让神正规万神等着吧，才为了美小来做完的。
So there was somebody sent in a question last time, and so Drupla has given the answer, so I will just give the translation of his answer to that question. So the question has to do with guru, the guru, devotion to the guru, and so on. So the person said the problem, one problem here is the level of access to the guru. We are told to evaluate the guru, but none of us have personal access to do so. Maybe in the years past, or for certain practitioners, this was available. Then we have the commandment, instruction that we are not to lose faith, no matter the behavior of the guru, in the sense that the practitioner is somehow to blame if they are not 100% trusting. And they say this is these ideas are well documented as the behavior of occults. And obviously, the Vajrayana has had some very public issues with this. Has some Vajrayana has had these scandals and so on, public issues with that problem. Veneration and respect seem very reasonable, but devotion without evaluation seems very dangerous. Is the question. So this person wanted Drupla to address this question. So basically, for the first part, where the person is wondering about saying that there's no access to the guru, Drupla's advice was that we actually can, if it's possible to get access to the guru, then even though it's difficult, we have to do that. We have to have a teacher, a guru, and this is very necessary. And even if it's very difficult for us, we have to make the effort and do whatever we can to do that. And in the process of being able to see the guru and meet the guru, then you purify a lot of obscurations and gather a lot of accumulations, which is necessary for the practice, for our practice. And this actually becomes a problem, is that people may not want to go through this kind of hardship, and then when they finally are able to practice, they may not go so well, they may not progress, but it's because they haven't put their whole self into it and gone through such a kind of difficulty to purify the obscurations and gather the accumulations by searching out the guru. For example, there's many instances of this in the history in Tibet. There was Milarepa who had to search out Marpa, and he went through a lot of hardships with that. And there was Milarepa's own disciple, Gampopa, who went through a lot of hardships in finally leading Milarepa. So so this is the first point, is that if we're able at all to do it, we should search out the guru and go undertake whatever difficulty we have to go through to do that, to do whatever it takes to do that. And also the reason that we have to search out the guru, of course, is if we want to attain the state of liberation, then we need to have the guru, the fully qualified guru, to do that. That guru is the only one who will be able to know, how to traverse the path to liberation and how to teach others to do the same, to get to liberation. So if this is our aim, if we truly want to attain liberation, then there's no choice but to search out and find a qualified guru. If we're learning some other type of knowledge, like learning language or some other topic, then it's not as important to check the teacher, because it's for this, it's not for such a great purpose. Yeah. So, and then the other thing that Drupla mentioned is that traditionally in the Buddhist culture, in Buddhism, the way that it's done is that the student should make the effort to go and see the guru and search out the guru and make the effort so that he will be able, so that the student will be able to study and learn, become a disciple of the guru. the guru is not expected to go around and search out students or go and visit their students and teach them, make his own effort to do that. It's actually our responsibility as disciples, as students, to make that happen. But nowadays, things are not always done like that with the modern culture. Nowadays, many gurus are coming, they will come around and visit the students and make sure that the students will get the instruction. They take that responsibility, but actually that's not the way it really should be. But on the other hand, that is the case, that is happening is actually due to our own merit. We have accumulated a lot of merit that now we have a situation where these gurus are actually taking on that responsibility themselves and coming to visit us as the disciples. So basically we have to undertake a difficulty to go and meet our teacher, find our teacher, and we have to take that responsibility ourselves. And if it's at all possible, we should do whatever it takes to search out a guru and examine the guru and then study with the guru. And as the Buddha has, because the Buddha has taught that the fully qualified guru is actually equal to the Buddha. This is the importance of the guru. And then if we need protection from something, whatever it may be, a crucial component of actually getting that protection is to have a faith and confidence in who we're seeking protection in. In this case, it's the guru. So this is why we need a faith, 100% faith in our guru, is because if we don't have that faith and conviction in the guru who's trying to protect us and help us and save us, then it won't really work. The relationship won't work. This is the general kind of dynamic that if you want protection from something, you should really have a confidence and faith in that thing. And there's a saying in Tibetan that the hook of compassion will hook itself to the ring of the faith. So if you imagine the compassion of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and our gurus and so on, it's like a hook. But if we don't have the ring of faith that that hook will use to pull us out of samsara, then they can't do anything for us. For example, like Devadatta, who was a disciple, the Buddha's cousin, Shakyamuni Buddha's cousin. He stayed for a long time together with the Buddha, but he didn't have faith in the Buddha, so eventually he didn't get much benefit. He went to hell and so on for a short time. And he didn't get any benefit from the Buddha while he was alive because he lacked faith. So this is really important to have the faith and devotion and so on. And then the next part of the question, when the person is, when this person was asking about how we have to have 100% faith no matter what the guru does, and it's kind of dangerous and so on. Drupla's response to that was that we have this is why we have to check the guru. It doesn't make sense to just become disciple of the guru without checking him. We have to check completely whether this guru is qualified or not, and then we have to have 100% faith and confidence and so on after we have checked ourselves. And there's another, of course, the famous verse by the Buddha where he gives this very principle where he says, my words are to be accepted only after examining them, the same way that one would examine gold by cutting it, scratching it, and burning it. But they're not to be accepted just out of respect for me. So this is a fundamental principle of Buddhism, that we have to check all the teachings. Any teaching we receive, first we have to check, does it make sense, and do I agree with it, and so on, and then only then start to practice it, and then you get a real benefit from it. So it's the same with the gurus. We have to check them before we accept them. So if you do it in this way, then the more you examine and check the teachings and gain confidence for yourself that they are valid, then the more your faith will increase because of that process. So the way to check the guru is first to check if he has these special qualities, like the special knowledge and so on, knowledge of Buddhism, knowledge of the path, and so on. And then after that, we check if they have compassion. This is very important also for the guru. If the guru doesn't have compassion or love for sentient beings, then he won't have the motivation to help sentient beings, to lead sentient beings out of samsara. And of course, he won't have the compassion and love to lead us out of samsara as his disciples. And then after you check his compassion, you should check if he has a power or a capacity. If he has this special kind of power, then he will, due to that also, he'll be able to lead us out of samsara. And we need, and then once we have checked that guru in all these ways, it's due to our own faith in him, our confidence in the guru, that he will be able to use that compassion and the power, his own power, to lead us out of samsara, lead us on the path of liberation. And then Drupla went on to describe this two approaches to practice. There's the approach based on wisdom, and there's the approach based on faith. And there's a certain type of faith that we can call blind faith in English, but it's not necessarily a negative thing. And this is actually can be very helpful and positive to have this kind of faith, where somebody will tell you about one special quality of one thing, whatever it may be, and you may not need so much else to really believe in it, and you would just go for it without examining it and analyzing and using your intelligence to try to figure out if it's true or not. So this actually is very helpful, because if somebody were to go to this kind of person who has this kind of faith, is so-called blind faith, and they were to say, oh, Buddhism is very powerful, beneficial, you should practice it, and this person won't really think about it and try to examine or analyze with an intelligence, but will just say, okay, this sounds good, I will do it, and then they practice, and they will immediately get benefit and results and progress along the path quickly. So it's really important that we have faith, and even the blind faith can be helpful in that way. And if we don't have faith, then it's really kind of, things won't really work. It's just our loss if we don't have that. So, yes. So, to sum up, basically we have to examine the guru. We have to go through difficulty to find the guru and then examine. And then after we examine, we can accept him. Although there are some cases where they didn't examine, like with the Shakyamuni Buddha, there's probably not, many people probably not examining him at that time that he was there. So that's it for the answer to the question.
Manam Gadanyam Basin Jedamche, number Sanjay Sala Kuparacha, Tej to Daditare, and Beche Samonin, some Yene, Yamsulang de Sanjatamji Sanji Kuparacha, Sanji Sala Kuparacha, Yambe Chanjo, the same December Charles.
So I request you now, Drupla says, to listen to these teachings with the following motivation, that it is by listening to these teachings that I will be able to establish all sentient beings that have been my mothers, that are equal in extent to space on the state of perfect awakening. And the teaching for today is the preliminary practices to the accomplishing the wisdom mind of the Guru, speller of all obstacles.
Shiba ngundu soksang dupjang insu ngaba ngundu yewa je nga yube na ne shigondu shisinde ani ngaba de shiwar chawares.
And so for the topics of this teaching, there are 5 topics. The meaning of the words, preliminary practices, is the first topic. Then how the preliminary practices are important. Then the practice of the extensive, medium, and concise preliminary practices. Then how the preliminary practices purify obscurations and gather the accumulations. And the 5th, the types of preliminary practices. So we finished the first 4, now we're on the 5th.
네, 말하면서 원주기 냠낸 지진이 나고 요래 당 원주기 냠낸 지나 냠낸 지당디 고르디 원주 예외 나가 요래스.
So we all want to practice the preliminary practices and learn how to practice the preliminary practices. And this topic of how to practice the preliminary practices is within this 5th topic here.
tineng ondu yewala tini jawang ondu tunjing ondu ngoshing ondu sumyores.
And there's 3 types of preliminary practices. The preliminary practices of the material items, and just a note from me that I changed the translation from requisite items to material items. I think material items is much better. But anyway, first type of preliminary practice is the preliminaries of the material items, then the preliminaries to the main part, and then the preliminaries to the session.
네, 원주기 냠낸 체득값수 당부 tini jawang ondu di 냠낸 체고고 요래스. jawang ondu di 냠낸 살송나 tini tunjing ondu di 냠낸 체고고 요래스. 당 안주 단다 jawang ondu 당 tunjing ondu di 가서 공도 쉬신 말레스. 다링 다 모식 온도라 아니 톡도 요래스.
So when we are actually putting these into practice, first we have to practice the preliminaries of material items, and then after that we practice the preliminaries to the main part. Sorry, preliminaries to, oh sorry, I said it out of order before I was reading it. But the second type of mundro is preliminaries to the session, then the 3rd type is preliminaries to the main part. So when we're practicing this, first we practice the preliminaries of material items, and then we will practice, we will do the preliminaries to the meditation session, and then we will do the 3rd, preliminaries to the main part, which is what we're going to start going into now, the preliminaries to the main part.
tineng nangbuka tani ngoshigi ngondu shiwa chaware. tini ngoshi ngondu mashi ngonla tini ta khazang kondu tunji ngondugi tini kansu kore leshi. tini tunji ngondugi mikpa chidangdu kongzu shi sawares. 다링 다 아니 tunji ngondu de 아니 dendang kandesin dengore tishugi ins. dendang dendang.
Oh yeah. So Drupla is saying he's already explained the when he's explaining the preliminaries to the meditation session, he's already explained the what you should visualize and how you should meditate and so on. But now he's going to explain how to recite this part of the doing practice. Because okay, so he's going to demonstrate to us how to recite the preliminaries to the meditation session all the way from the beginning, from the awakening from the sleep of ignorance, awakening from the sleep of ignorance, all the way from the beginning, starting from there. So yeah, bring up that slide of awakening from, oh no, this sorry, this is the wrong slide. Wake up practice.
Oh yeah.
Did it? Yeah, the previous one. Yes. So this practice, which I just demonstrated, is whether we're using it to begin a session or doing it on its own, it's very powerful. So we don't only have to, it's not that we only can do this to begin the session, but we can also do it as standalone practice. We will accumulate a huge amount of merit and purify huge amount of obscurations with this practice. So I request all of you to please do this practice every morning without fail. So this practice is like the doorway to the other practices that we will do after it. It's the kind of gateway or the beginning part of the practices that we do after it. So if we're able to have the beginning of our practices in the proper way and do this practice at the beginning as the doorway, the gateway, the proper beginning to the practice, then the rest of the practice will come about very well and be very effective and so on. But if we don't start out our practice session and our day of practice properly with this practice, then it won't be as good, it won't be as effective. So please understand how important this practice is and do it at the beginning of your sessions and the beginning of the day.
Sumba tenso domba dendang zo rimba shindo shugu yus ninga ge kale gyaba nashin kenamba ge kale gyab tila ani tribu ji chungna ani yaburwa.
So this is also what Patrick Rinpoche has, this is what he wishes for also, is that all of you do this practice. And as on for my part also, I'm making as much effort as possible so that you may be able to understand this practice and be able to benefit from it. And so I'm explaining everything in a lot of detail. I'm explaining all the meaning of each word and how to recite it, the melody for reciting the words, and also the visualizations and how we should meditate and think while we're reciting this. So I'm also doing the best I can so that you will get benefit from this.
Nyamsu malang pentita yang tul nyamsu lang na phalangzi yang tul sungore malang zo tul tup tama tup nyamsu lang malang ra legi ma to nye mani la ra legi mare nyemba cham la ra legi mare nye gu gi yor de ina yang nyemba cham ki peto ja chimbu tul du ge besan tul du mare chowar cheba la phengi re ina ngone chowar cheba di tene nyamsu lang gore nyamnen chegu nyamnen cheni tul gu yor de nyamsu malang pentita yang tul la pentita sang de kheba chimbu re se nyamsu malang yongdi korangi 퇴삼 mongbu che 퇴삼 제백 경발라 샤샤 yongdi ten nyamsu malang yongdi korwan nanga chudugu yores tarbatugu yomares tulgu yomares tendi nyamsu malang pendita yang chulus ta nyamsu langba ina palangzi yang chulus palang sogengi miyo tenzoge chue nyamsu langna korang kari shebada nyamsu langna koyang korang nyamsu langba tela teni anu chudugu yore tendi nyamsu lang kayang palangzi yang chulus songa res tendi nyamsu langna kalchimburado wa. 되는 거 속에 되는 신기 되는 냠술나의 가침부 찌대 되는 냠술나로 제거고 요래스.
So there's many people nowadays who are studying Dharma and listening to Dharma teachings. It's become that there's so many people listening to so many different teachings and studying a lot about the Buddhism. But there's not as many practicing, actually putting into practice. And this is actually the most important part, is to practice the Dharma, put it into practice. And there's a verse that goes, or a saying that goes, if a great scholar, Pandita, if he doesn't practice, then even he will be deluded. And if a cowherd, somebody who takes, spends their life taking care of animals, like cows and so on, if they practice, then even they will be liberated. So the meaning is that whether or not we can attain the state of liberation depends on whether we practice or not. If we put the teaching into practice, doesn't depend as much on study. That's not to say that there's no benefit to studying. There is a benefit to studying, and we need to study. But if you ask if there can be the same type of a really vast benefit that you get from practice out of studying, the answer is no. We can't get a huge benefit that we can get out of practice just from studying. So the verse is talking about, or the saying is talking about a pandita, a scholar, somebody who knows so much about Buddhism and many other topics. If they don't put the teaching into practice, even that person who's really learned will just continue within samsara and be deluded and continue to wander in samsara. And whereas a cowherd who just may know a little bit, if he puts into practice just the little bit that he knows, the right little bit that he knows, then even he will be able to be liberated. So we have to understand this well, and then understand the importance of practicing, putting the teaching into practice, and know that we have to consider it as being the most important.
드니 냠낸 제바이나 드니 졸주여봐 냠낸 마치바이나 드니 졸주메바 베르나 칸샤르스나 미똑발라 세예베 미펜 세사고 바타르 송어 베나 미똑바시여바이나 거기 쪽즈그 뛴나더니 세카리 사고에 참마 여바이나 아니 거기 마산이 샤샤바이나 고토고 당게 말아와 고토고 똑발에 졸두고 말아와 고토고 또 때라 또 이제 칼라디 쪽즈가나 샤샤 그런 게 마산이 샤샤체 아니 그런 또 돼요 다 그런 똑발이 아니 칼라 뛴라 여바 잠기 고토고발에 졸두 그래 졸두 말아와 칼라디 그 카드 사고 거라 레니 라고기 레니 사 문네 도나나 땅고 거라 딱그 라고기 레 칼라 무르 도나나 따와이나 근데 코드네 또게 동안에 졸두 거라 대행정은 냠스 땅고도 와
예, 찌기찌기 다다 그래.
미 똑발라 세 예베 미펜 세 사고 바다르스 미 똑발라 세 예베 미펜 세 사고 바다르스
So there's another saying that says a hungry person who it doesn't benefit a hungry person just to put food in front of them, but what will just to have the food there, but will benefit the hungry person is if they eat the food. Yeah. So this is illustrating the fact that if we practice the Dharma, put the Dharma into practice, then we will be liberated. And if we don't put the teaching into practice, we will not be liberated. So just as if you, somebody is really hungry and you put nice meal in front of them on the table, and if they just leave it there and don't eat it, they will not be freed from that suffering of hunger. It doesn't help them at all. But if on the other hand, if there's a hungry person, they put the food in front of them on the table and they actually eat it, then they will be free from this suffering of hunger. The same way here with the practicing.
최선 세군디 아니 세든서 차릭 전에 세수 수에 아니 쪽서 강화샤바디 퇴섬 들고 단 냠니 세군디 아니 세와도.
So they studying and listening to the Dharma and then contemplating the Dharma is like preparing the food and putting the food on the table for people to eat. And then actually putting the Dharma to practice and meditating on the Dharma is like actually eating the food then.
nangi kirang zula tibaina kirang pe jogodon dene jogodon debaina tini chogzi gana khala masani shasha be kinto jogo jangire be so toba ge dungale jolgire be jolgi marawa.
So I ask you a simple question, a direct question. If you are really hungry and I put some food in front of you on the table in front of you, and you just leave it there and don't eat it, will you be free from that suffering of hunger? Will you be full if you don't eat the food? I don't think so. You want to be full.
조즈데 칼라도 조즈 가나샤네 저거 장소에 나는 저런 저거 장도 그래 조즈 가나 샤샤바sambe 장민도와 사고기도와 나시라스.
So if somebody asks you, there's a hungry person sitting there and there's food in front of them on the table, then somebody asks them, oh, are you satisfied with the eating? You're full now. Of course, they're not going to be full from that. They have to eat the food, so it's the same here. So therefore, we request you to please practice what the teaching had to practice. So now we're starting the kind of the main part of the preliminary practices, and please put the slide up. So this line, first line there says, as the common preliminaries arouse intense renunciation, faith, and great compassion, and thereby engender a mind of renunciation.
장마기 냠슬랑자 아니 배나 칼락성인데 장매기 사이로와 두몽게 칼라로와 대나 대인디 장매기 냠슬랑자레스 대인디 두몽을 라바스.
So here when it refers to the common preliminaries, what this word common means is that it's something that's practiced by everyone. It's common to everyone. Everyone can practice it, just as, for example, food for us, it's common to everybody. Everybody eats food. And so this is the same idea here. These common preliminaries are practiced by everyone.
갈수고래 마비인데 틱바 랑겔게 틱바 찬주선배 틱바 상마 투몽 김염술랑자레 세랭이종 대바 닝지 숨보디 아니 상매 냠술랑자레 송.
So what this means is that the Shravaka practitioners, the Pratyaga Buddha practitioners, and the Bodhisattva practitioners, all of them, they all practice renunciation, faith, and the compassion, great compassion. So these practices are common to all of them.
네, 년태기 루라이나 인쟁고 했던 그 말에 신란 네바 방와데 년태기 루라 신의 시제 방와 라그 대란 인제 차르고 요레스.
And they, as for the Shravakas, even though compassion is not really emphasized or not really taught explicitly to them, they do practice giving up harming sentient beings. So this is actually a form of compassion.
다디난 그 인제 숙침보라도 제봤는데 티바침보 고난게 룩소다도 라고 요레스.
But where it says in great compassion, and also here in the Tibet, it's not only great compassion, but this kind of really intense. I guess never mind. If you interpret it a certain way, it means intense, great compassion. The text is saying generate intense, great compassion. So this type of great compassion is only practiced by bodhisattvas in the Mahayana.
다디나라 담보 녜종데 디네 로도 넘바실라 자르고 요레스. 대바데 깜돌라 자르고 요레스. 닝제디 디네 셈겔라 자르고 요레스.
So the first of these three, the renunciation, this should be practiced in a combination. The way that we practice renunciation is with the four thoughts that turn the mind from samsara. And the way that we practice faith is with the practice of refuge. And the way we practice compassion is with the bodhicitta.
kenambabi 시에고고 요레 디나라 테바 아니 녜종 테바 닝제슬라도아 티니티 카리나 제나 녜종 생인데 로도 남바실라 자르고기도아 테바 생인데 깜돌라 자르고기도아 닝제 생인데 셈제라 자르고기도아 시에고고 요레스.
So this is you should all understand this. This is very good, important for you all to understand. It's very helpful. That each of these three are applied with those three, with those three practices, because it helps to understand what they each are. So you can look at renunciation, faith, and great compassion. What does renunciation mean? What does faith mean? What does great compassion, and so on? And you can then understand that renunciation is what is practiced by the four thoughts that turn the mind from samsara, and faith is what is practiced in refuge, and great compassion is what is practiced in bodhicitta, in the practice of bodhicitta.
전에 슈크타도 게베스 거다 녜종 테바 닝제 등저 중중 마인바 메세 첨부 슈크첨부 깨고 요레스 대인데 슈크타도 게베스.
So the text here says intense renunciation, faith, and great compassion. So what this means is not, we don't want to just generate a small degree of these factors of renunciation, faith, and compassion, but we want to generate them to a great degree, to a high degree.
예종기 로제발라 셉타 당부 슈크창부 슈크차도 게바 당보대 아니 예종기 당보 예종기 로제발라 셉타 예종기 디네 랑기 로디 쭈고고요레 나랑조 쭈에스나 subject 당고요레 나랑조 로디 다 나랑조 로디 쭈에 제베 값소 디네 나랑조 당보 쭈에데 마체냐라 나랑 로디 짱마 야부지고고요레 짱마 야부지에나 아니 대제라 추기 냠는데 ngo네 야 추기 냠는 것이디 최송화에나 되네 빼 야구 자고요레 땡아랑 그 로디 마제나 땡아랑 그 로디 쪽바다부지요 바차샤나 되네 것이 냠는데 야부 용구 말에 빼나가랑 저 뇌지기 나라 되네 칼라 로고요나 당보 뇌디 짱마 소고기도 대 짱마 소반나시 뇌 짱마요나 되게 나라 쥐루바에나 쥐대 야부 자기로 갈대 계랑 뇌 쪽바지기 나라 쥐디 루바에나 되네 쥐디야 아니 시라 다용데 아니 가서 그래 사두기 카메 바다고 레기로 대인도 로초바 생인데 내 장마서 바다고 나시레스.
So then the text goes on to say we have to engender a mind of renunciation, thereby engender a mind of renunciation. So what this means is in the in the Tibetan, the phrasing is that we have to fix our mind or change our mind so that we have renunciation. And so what that means is that, yeah, that's what it means, that we have to work on our mind and change it, to kind of fix it in a way. And so here, what it means that we have to practice so that our mind is in the proper state, and a good state, and a very pure, have a kind of clean mind, a pure mind. And if we are able to do this, to practice and engender this mind of renunciation, and this way change our mind so that it's a pure, then the main part of the practice, it will become, we'll be able to do that properly, and it will be effective. The practice, yeah, this is so this is required before we begin to practice. At the very beginning, we first have to engender the mind of renunciation to make our mind pure. And so if we don't make our mind pure at the beginning, and have the proper mindset, pure mindset at the beginning of practice, then the practices won't go well. The practice that we do after that won't go well. Just like if we have, if we're eating food, and we take a bowl or whatever it is, some vessel, and if we can clean that bowl and use a clean bowl before we put the food that we're going to eat inside of there, then we can eat and it will work out. We can eat that food. But on the other hand, if we have a bowl that's dirty and we don't clean it, and we leave it in a dirty state with all kinds of waste or whatever in there, and then try to eat it, we won't want to eat it and won't be able to eat it. So it's the same here. We have to first fix the vessel of our mind and make it pure and in a proper state of mind.
Te kangre sena teni ngarang soji lodi migewe chok ke namdok mangbu shi yobar ta dendregi migewe chok namdok mangbu shi yobe nangla ne sokpa tabu nangla teni chö ya boji chü sangbo am chö ya bodi ani digangla ne tugi rebesna ne tugi mare te indi ne matuba indi tangbo nyodi ani lo migewe chok de ani chöjur tanggo subje tanggo war tati subje tangwar cheba la sigdo lo cheba las the last de lo cheba la khari gugu yore la bare khari gugu yore na lo cheba la ngejung gugu yore la bare.
So if we ask the question, what is the dirty mind, this mind that we have, which is likened to a vessel, what does it mean that that vessel is dirty, that the mind is dirty? That means that what it means is that we have non-virtuous kind of factors in our mind, and this is the dirt that makes the mind, puts the mind into that dirty state that is that we need to clean out. Is a non-virtuous factors. So what we have to do is then to change that and fix that state of mind and clean out those non-virtuous factors, the dirt of those non-virtuous factors. So here it's not reflected in the English, but it says in Tibetan, for the purpose of engendering the mind of renunciation, and then the purpose is following the four thoughts that turn the mind of following. So this is where we are now, is that in order to engender the mind of renunciation, then what follows, what to do, what follows.
ngejung korto samjeba shugins chedang chenamba ngejung korte ngejung de mambu khoye je ka ngejung siti 코로알레 탑되지 삼바지가 되는 예중 시기에서 캔나바기 다 대다 공기 유지레스 시기 유지레.
So today I will explain a little bit extensively the meaning of pronunciation. I will give a little bit of elaborate teaching on pronunciation. So first of all, I think all of you know that the basic idea of pronunciation is the intention or the mind that wants to be free, liberated from samsara.
네, 다 아랑소지 예중 시바데 드네 베미스바기 가진 것이라지 그래서.
And renunciation is extremely important for us as practitioners.
네, 갈침부인 경쟁대 간에서나 드네 예중 시바데 드네 다르베 교인 송화레스.
And why is it important? It's important because it is taught that renunciation is the cause for attaining liberation.
당연한 예중생의 세팅 사브로라 단다케나바기 예중생의 코로알레 타르드게 삼바시라 땅 예중생에서 다시 시엘레로도와 얘나당 예중 파팅 사브로나 다 예중생의 때 갈침부레스 갈침부의 경쟁 가상 예중생의 타르베 규레스.
So this is a little bit deeper into the topic, a little more profound way of understanding what is renunciation. We all know that renunciation is the intention to free oneself from samsara, to be liberated from samsara, but to go a little bit deeper in it, on top of that, it is crucial, it's extremely important because it is the cause of attaining the state of liberation.
네, 예중생의 타르베 교인비 경쟁대 간에서나 태가랑주비 규라 예중야고 지여바이나 드니 로치스로도 그래스 마랑기 규라 예중야고 시여바이나 담배 추진냐는데 마랑기 규라 템보 데트 그래스 마랑기 규라 예중야고 지여바이나 드니 담배 추양 가바 드트 그래스.
So to explain further why renunciation is the cause of liberation, in the first place, if we are able to have true renunciation, then this is what will enable our mind to enter into the Dharma. And then secondly, it will allow us to really practice well. Our practice will be really effective, and we'll be able to practice very well. And then thirdly, the Drupla and then thirdly, we will be able to accomplish the Dharma and really genuinely, really purely as it's meant to be practiced.
rangi jola nyejong ya bo yebayina thela tene tine lochus ru tukres lochus ru to bala tene rangi jola chogi nyamnen de tembo de tukres chogi nyamnen tembo de bala tene rangi chogi nyamnen yang thaba tukres.
Yeah, actually the second one I mistranslated. The second reason, actually the second reason is, so the first reason that it's the cause for attaining liberation is that our mind will be able to enter the Dharma if we have true renunciation. And the second one is actually not what I said before, but it's Drupla actually said it's that if we have a true renunciation, we will be able to maintain our practice steadily and really stable in a stable way. And then thirdly, we'll be able to practice the Dharma really properly in a genuine, pure way. And so this goes in a sequence that if we have true renunciation, in the first place, we'll be able to actually enter the path of the Dharma, our mind will enter the Dharma. And then as a result of that, our practice will be really strong and stable and be able to maintain it. And then as a result of that, of being able to maintain the practice, we'll be able to accomplish the practice really genuinely and purely.
자세가 다 저런 게 줄라 나랑주 줄라 세고라 나랑주 줄라 예정하고 요나 드니 나랑기 로디 줄 로트브라 줄라 로트바이나 드니 주기 냠는 데랑 그 줄라 템포 데토기도와 템포 데발라 때네 드니 나랑기 주냠네 양 다바시 둑둑기도와 단 냠네 양 다바 둑둑바이나 가리용 그래 동알레 타도 그래 고래 동알레 타도 그래 동알 탐질레 타도 그래 대인디 예중 답이 교인스 랍고 김센데.
So please listen to this well and consider it well. First of all, if we have renunciation, we will be able to enter the path of the Dharma, right? This makes sense. And then when we have when we enter the path of the Dharma, or our mind has actually entered into the Dharma, then with the renunciation, we will be able to have a stable, really strong and stable practice, be able to maintain that a strong practice. And then that makes sense, doesn't it? And then as a result of that, with the renunciation, again, whether on the basis of that stable practice, we'll be able to accomplish the Dharma properly in a real genuine and a pure way. And what is the result of that? The result of that is that we will be free of suffering in the end. So this is how renunciation is the cause of the attainment of liberation. So this, please think about this and consider this the way that works. That is the more, yeah.
다 이종생이 타로와 토벌치의 교인 바 짬도 마세베 테니 디기 탐제 토비기 깽양 차로 그래서.
Then on top of that, not only is renunciation the cause of liberation, it is also the condition or the secondary cause, a kind of minor cause or condition for all happiness that we may enjoy.
컨데스네 코르베 동안에 아니 컨데스네 아니 디기 탐제 토비기 깽치기를 했으나 테니 나랑소 코르 동안에 타르바이나 테니 나랑소 윤대지 고방향 텔라테네 토토 코르 동안에 타르바이나 녀랑기 고방향 텔라테네 토토 코르 동안에 타르바이나 장주선배기 고방향 텔라테네 토토 코르 동안에 타르바이나 상지지 고방향 텔라테네 토토고요. 대인디 아니 디기 탐제 중의 끼냐라도.
So how does that work? Well, basically, in other words, how is renunciation also a condition for all the happiness that we may enjoy? It's through renunciation that we attain liberation, and it is through that attainment of liberation we may attain the state of the arhat, of a Shravaka liberation, and through that attainment of liberation brought about by renunciation, we also may attain the state of liberation of the Pratika Buddha, the state of a Pratika Buddha. And also it is through that attainment of liberation that we will attain the state of Buddha. So this is how this is how renunciation is also a condition for all of these kinds of happiness.
테네 마랑소 로아심지지 테네 동안이 누구 말이라 동안 탐지 누구 말이 니기니 탐지 누기래 다 동안 탐지 메데바 빵투바 동안 탐지 출랑투바 고구요나 땅에 준 고구요.
So all the beings, they don't want suffering, right? This is very clear. And all the sentient beings, furthermore, they want happiness. But what is the thing that will bring this about for them? What is the thing that will allow them to escape from suffering, which they don't want, and to attain happiness, which they do want? Actually, the thing that will accomplish this is renunciation.
근데 된대지니 좀 그게 봐 중생한테 저글링 밖에 가리송 보스나 냠낸 상보 제대나 예중 삼바 템보고 송.
So Trungpa actually has taught about renunciation, and he said in the following way. He said, if you want to have a good Dharma practice, if you want your practice to be really good and go well, then you need stable renunciation.
다 냠낸 상보 세대 가리시기 거르스나 로치스 드토바 최기 냠낸 데랑 디딜라 템보 데토바 최양 타바 드토바이나 대냠낸 상보.
So what did he mean when he went, if you want your practice to go well, or you want to have a good practice? What he meant is that what is good practice or having your practice go well mean? What that means is that, first of all, your mind enters into the Dharma, goes into the Dharma, and then on top of that, your practice is you're able to maintain a very strong practice, stable practice, and then on top of that, that you are able to accomplish the pure and authentic, genuine Dharma.
상보스나 칸세로스나 약보라 상보라 바로. 다 약보 임비 중생 가르스나 로치스 드토 추기 냠낸 데랑 그길로 템보 데도랑 그 최양 타바 드토바이나 드니 다동아랑조 동안에 드토 연대다나겔 장센다 산지지 고방 톱도기도 와 된제지 되고 야보도 톱도기도 와 대인디 상보로 와.
So here, when Shurgeling was talking about having a good practice, it means that, or having the practice go well or excellent, what that means is that, let me start with when Shurgeling mentions that we need this practice to go well, what that means is that the practice is excellent, you can say. And so first of all, it's through our mind entering into the path, entering into the Dharma, that we're able to attain these results, the state of the liberation of the Arhat, of Shravaka, and the state of liberation of the Pratyeka Buddha, and the state of a Buddha. So all of these results are very excellent, right? So this is why, this is what he means by, if you want your practice to go well or to be good, to have an excellent practice, we gain these excellent results. So if we were to have our mind enter the Dharma and then maintain a strong, stable practice, and then be able to accomplish the genuine Dharma, to really practice the proper, genuine Dharma, and then if the result of all that was that we just got more suffering as a result of all of that, then that would not be good or excellent. It wouldn't be a good practice or excellent practice.
Dribu, Dewa, Tobarcheva, Imba Songzang, Tein Yudi, Yamnendela, Tini Sambo, Lave Johnson there is.
And it's because the result of all of this practice is excellent. These kind of states that we're able to attain, because the result of all this practice is excellent in that way. This is why in this statement from Trungpa, he talks about to have a good practice or excellent practice. The practice also is the cause of that result.
다 딘제기 냠낸 상봉아랑도 이 드니 제발 대기 삼바 유나 드니 당분이나 가리고 그랬으면 예중 삼바 템보고스 예중 약보고 요레스
the Drupla
말에 냠낸 상보
알았어.
드부 상보 토바체기 냠낸지요로 달로 주스 도도바 주기 냠는 덴보데 도바 저 양도바 주바 된데 줘라 다 된저 대부 상부터 여기 규로와 규대 약부지 규대 나랑서기 가르쳐 그래 거기 요나 대기냐랑 예중 거기 요래서 좀 템포 거기 요래서
So if we want to then to have this kind of excellent practice, to have our practice be excellent in this way, that we we're able to have our minds enter the Dharma and then maintain a stable practice and then accomplish the genuine Dharma. What we need is the cause, or what we need to do all of that is to have a stable renunciation.
당하랑서 동부 예중 갈천 보인다 해서 대기 제당하랑서 예중 고바 게임바 예중 고부 열에서 당한서 예중 고비 경쟁 가르서 당한서 냠년 상부 제도 그래 예중 요나 땡 예중 맨날 냠년 상부도 제도 그요 말에.
So now we all understand what why renunciation is important. Right? This is the reason why renunciation is important. This is the real purpose and the reason why we need renunciation is to get this excellent practice, to be able to have this excellent practice and gain the result.
되네다 예정스러워데 되네 고래 동안에 다루 인교래도 안에 니기 탐제 토비 깨야래도 다 예정 아니 나랑절로 고기도 사당아도 쉬바라 다 이나양 예정 코랑 간데지레 셋나스.
So now we understand that renunciation is the cause of liberation, and we understand that renunciation is furthermore the condition for all happiness. And we understand, in addition to that, why we need renunciation, that we need renunciation. So now I will explain what actually is renunciation.
예정 다시 공도시 사와라 예정 라테네 로치스 주도 단 예정 라테네 로치스 주도 부여나 단 예정 가랑 가리임 바디 가서 하고 보여라.
So it is a renunciation that allows us to enter into the Dharma, allows our minds to enter into the Dharma. So that being the case, we have to know what is renunciation.
다 네 셰바데 되네 가랑 속이 셰바 양나 셈나 송와암 양나 땡켈와 시글라테네 녜라 그레스.
So in the Tibetan, renunciation is translating the Tibetan word nge jung, so it has two syllables, nge jung, and the first syllable is a nge. So nge has three possible meanings here. First of all, it means to know something. And a second, and then second of all, it means to be able to keep something in mind or remember something. And then thirdly, there's a syllable nge in the ngechung renunciation. It means to come to a decision about something, to come to a clear resolution or decision about something.
종설나 테니 바로 텀밤 서로 종와라 서로 용와라 종설.
So jung, the second syllable of ngejung, it means, on the one hand, it means to come out from somewhere, and then on the second hand, it means to arrive or to come to some place, to arrive at something.
다 가레 셰바레 가레 셈지 송와레 가레 아니 땡켈와레스나 테니 코르와 동알비랑 신임바 아니 나랑서 셰바레 코르와 동알비랑 신임바 아니 나랑서기 송와레 코르와 동알비랑 신임바 나랑서 땡켈와레 텔랑 예시
So the first syllable of the word ngechung, this syllable nge, it means to know, to be able to hold in mind or keep in mind, remember, and to be able to decide or come to a clear resolution or decision. So what actually do we need to know about? What do we need to remember and keep in mind? And what do we need to be decisive about? We need to know the we need to know that so we need to first of all know that samsara, the nature of samsara is suffering, and we need to hold in mind and remember that the nature of samsara is suffering, and we need to be completely decisive and resolved that the nature of samsara is suffering. Or another way to explain it is that this syllable nge in the Ngechung renunciation, what that refers to is that we have to know that samsara is just a mass of suffering. It's full of suffering, and we have to keep in mind and remember that the samsara is just completely full of suffering, a mass of suffering, and we have to know, and we have to come to a resolution and be decisive that samsara is a mass of suffering. Or another way to say it is that we have to know that samsara is oh yeah. We have to know that samsara is like a factory of suffering, and we have to come to a decision, keep in mind and remember that samsara is like a factory of suffering, and that we have to be decisive and come to a resolution that samsara is a factory of suffering. So to give an analogy for the way that samsara is a mass of suffering and so on, how samsara is full of suffering, to an image for that, or analogy for that, is that samsara is like a pit of fire, and that samsara, secondly, that a samsara is like a pit of snakes, and that samsara is like an island of ogres and monsters, demonic monsters. And also that the samsara is like the point of a needle. You can't, because you can't stay on the point of a needle without suffering. Lodiram chungwa. What's wrong with chungwa?
다지 ngai shera she니다 델레 동알기 타르도 로리기로다 코라 동알기랑 셴바 오 신앙 살아 땅낭 살아 코로와디 뱀마서 쫙보려도 코로와디 매이 없다 보려도 코로와디 심볼링다 매이 없나는 간주 천나 가르치 그래 책으로 와 쫙보러 와 아니 도둑이 창나는 간주 도이나 도둑이 소재기로 와 되니 심볼링로 도나다 심볼이 간주 사기로 와 탁동 시암무로 범무로 지기로 와 아니 갑기 좀 강라 되는 간주로 동아 삼기 메자봐요라 된리지 동아리 임바 시에나 텔레타르도 로지기로 와 로 텀밤 로 수르 중와라 예 중스랑 나랑 로 수르 중와들라 예 중 삼로 파르 텀발라 되네 텀바 텔레 중와
So now we know that samsara is full of suffering in this way. We keep that in mind, remember that, and then come to a resolution about that. And then what happens? What is the next step is that we have the next syllable, which is chung, which means to come about, to come out of something, or to arrive, to have something arrive. So what happens is that the intention to free ourselves from this massive suffering, to free ourselves from samsara, will come up in our mind. It will come out in us, or you can say it will arrive to us, because we once we know that a samsara is like a pit of fire or a pit of poisonous snakes, or like an island of kind of demonic monsters, we will not want to stay there. Of course, if we have to stay in a pit of fire, we're going to be burned, and very painful. And if we stay in a pit of poisonous snakes, because the snakes will bite us, and then we will get sick and die and so on. And if we have to go to this island of demonic monsters, then they will attack us and kill us and eat us, grind up our bones and so on. So given that we know that samsara is like that, then the next thing that happens is that this intention to liberate ourselves from samsara will come about in us. It will arrive to us or come out in us.
다들 삼로지당 거다 다 이중스인데 먼저 코로라 직능 잡고 쉬우지께서 시당사고 쉬우지께서 텔레 타르도기 로 중소 다 텔레 타르도기 로 중뒤 ten 가릴레기도 로 쳐서 좋아 세겐데 레고여다 예중생인데라 예중생네 예중나 때네 로 쳐서 연구해 봐든들 가르스나 코 동안란 직네 타르도기 로 끼어온데 당아 탑 강라 때네 오네가 타르 제고도 삼디 최라 때네 타르 제고도 삼기로와 달로 쳐서 두고도와 따다요 로 쳐서 된데 로알라 때인데 되네 최기 냠네 템포 데도 그래 최기 냠네 템포 데발라 때네 되네 최 양다 바두도 그래 최 양다 바두도 발라 때네 동안에 타르고 이래 텔라 때네 되네 년대다랑 자 장주선바 산지지 림바신도 텔라 때네 또도 그래 근데 딱 이중생인데 다 해당 중기 책들라 되시던데
So then think about it in this way, that now we understand samsara is a completely dangerous place with so much suffering, and then we get the intention to be free from samsara. So then what happens after that is that our mind will then enter the dharma, because when we consider samsara is so full of suffering and so dangerous, and then furthermore, we therefore have to liberate ourselves from samsara, then we will consider what will allow me to be liberated from samsara is the dharma. It's by practicing the dharma that will allow us to be liberated from samsara. So our mind will enter the dharma in that way. And then once our mind has entered the dharma, what follows is that our practice will be stable. We'll be able to maintain the stable, strong practice. And then by maintaining the stable, strong practice, we'll be able to accomplish the Dharma perfectly and purely in a genuine way. And so this is why, and then we will attain the, by practicing the Dharma in this, the genuine Dharma in this pure way, we will attain the result of the liberation of a Shravaka or of a Pratika Buddha, or the state of awakening, of a complete awakening of a Buddha. So all of this depends upon renunciation in this way.
세상 나랑저 대대진 예중 매비 값소 나랑저 로디 직된지 롱엠바 몽부지 여대라 땅 나랑저 예중 비계용도 직된지 롱엠바도 봐 주니 상불남나 튀기도와 세상 로줘봐 쓰기도 팔라.
And then to explain the word in Tibetan, where it actually says we have to fix our mind so that we have renunciation, or create the mind of renunciation. To explain that word, to fix or create, to change in a positive way. And when we don't have renunciation, we all have this experience that when we don't have this pure mind of renunciation, we have this kind of worldly mind, which is very negative, you know. And so when we arouse renunciation, engender renunciation, then what happens is that we fix that negative mind, and change the negative mind and purify it. So this is what is meant in the English, says engender mind of renunciation, but then in Tibetan it's saying you should change your mind such that you have renunciation, or fix it such as renunciation.
단 얘기 견절라 배 답대비 어디 셰바이나 지난 사고라 마다 당대 먼저 핸들 선직 세미지도 아빠기 꼬레지 디 유나 가르치게 예라도나 지나 예라 도도구다 유나도나 유나 도도구다 어디 내종디 나랑 들라고라 핸들 예바이나 시레스 되게 상불 남라도나 거의 격투 그랬어.
So I'll give you another analogy for renunciation. It's like the steering wheel in a car. Wherever you turn the wheel, then the car will go in that direction. If you turn the steering wheel to the right, the car will go to the right. If you turn the steering wheel to the left, the car will go to the left. And so this is the same way it works here with renunciation. If we're able to turn that wheel of renunciation to the right direction, then we will be able to go in the positive, to the positive direction based on the steering or something like that.
마다 남가 예라 도다 예라 도디 아니 가자 내가 투사디 핸들을 투도.
So the whether the car goes to the right side or to the left side, that all depends on which way the steering wheel is turned. Yeah.
그 아니 나란지 냠네 상불 남라 도툭다 마툭딩 예중을 되느라 그랬어.
So in the same way, whether we're able to practice the Dharma well, whether our Dharma practice will go well or be effective or not, this depends on renunciation in the same way. So this is where the teaching will end for today. So let's all say these, recite the dedication aspiration together.
Sonam de